Hello students, my name is Vaishali, faculty in School of Finance and Commerce, Galgotia's University. I welcome you all to this lecture series. The name of the course is Organizational Behavior. Course code is BBAF1009 and the name of the topic is Organizational Behavior Concepts. So let's get started with the presentation. So let's start the course by defining the term organization. Many authors have given the definition of organization, as you can see definitions by W.R. Scott and Bernard. Now, if I have to explain organization in layman's language, I would say that a group of people contributing their efforts towards certain goals is an organization. Based on the above characteristics of an organization, some of the examples are companies, armies, hospitals. These can be classified as organizations, whereas tribes, families, friendship groups are not organization in the strict sense, since they do not qualify all the three parameters of an organization. Organizations can be studied from two perspectives. One is micro and the other is macro. Now, a micro perspective considers human being as the focus of study. It concerns itself with each individual's psychological makeup. So basically, micro perspective is concerned with how an individual person is likely to react in a given situation. It is interested in studying how an individual learns, what motivates an individual, and what kind of leadership strategies will produce a certain desired behavior in an individual. All these things are examined in the micro view. This micro view of individuals in an organization is recognized as the discipline of organizational behavior. On the other hand, the macro perspective considers organization as the unit of analysis. Macro perspective is concerned with organizational goals, how organizations are structured, what technologies are used in the organization, so on and so forth. The macro perspective is recognized as the discipline called organizational theory. We are going to look into the definitions of organizational behavior and organizational theory later in the coming up slides. Now let's look at the term behavior. Behavior means the manner in which a person conducts himself or herself in response to his external environment. The behavior is influenced by a number of factors such as emotions, attitudes, values, personality, perceptions, to name a few. Now let's look at the meaning of the term organizational behavior. It is made up of two words, organization and behavior. We have looked at the meaning of both the terms separately. Now to sum it up, OB is concerned with understanding, predicting and influencing individual behavior in an organizational setting. It focuses on the individuals, groups and the organization and also their interactional relationships. So OB focuses on the behavior at three levels of analysis. First is behavior at the individual level. So organizations are basically made of their individual members, right? The individual is the central figure of organizational behavior. The behavior of individuals is a complex phenomenon. It's affected by a large number of factors such as personality, values, attitudes, motivation, so on and so forth. So OB integrates these factors to provide simplicity in understanding human behavior. Next is behavior at group level. Now, although people interact with the outside world at their individual level, their behavior patterns do get influenced by groups to which they belong. In fact, several research studies have shown that people behave differently in groups than as individuals. And there are several factors which influence these behaviors in groups, such as group goals, group norms, group cohesiveness, to name a few. Now, the third level of analysis is behavior at organizational level. As we all know, organization is a system composed of several interdependent individuals and groups. Individuals and groups operate within the structure of formal organization. It is people who make up the culture of the organization. At times, they may resist change and there can be stress-related issues related to bringing a new cultural change. So all these and many more factors have to be looked from the perspective of the whole organization. So this is how OB studies people at three levels: at individual, group, and at the level of organization. Now let's look at the features of organizational behavior one by one. First is a field of study. Now, field of OB is backed by theory, research and application with a growing concern for people at the workplace. Second feature is levels of analysis. Organizational behavior involves three levels of analysis of behavior, that is behavior at individual level, at the group level and at the organizational level. Third feature is concern for effectiveness. Now, OB is just not about theoretical concepts. It is also an action-oriented and goal-directed discipline. The major goal is to understand, explain and predict human behavior in organizational context so as to improve organizational effectiveness in the long run. Next feature is satisfaction of employees' needs. Now, OB is just not about achieving organizational goals, but it also seeks to fulfill the needs of employees and their aspirations. Next feature is OB is interdisciplinary. Now, the field of OB is highly influenced by other behavioral sciences like psychology, sociology, political science, to name a few. The last but not the least, OB is science as well as an art. So OB includes both science and art. The systematic knowledge about human behavior is science and the application of behavioral knowledge being the art part. So in one of our previous discussions, while discussing the features of organizational behavior, we had seen that OB is interdisciplinary in nature. So now we are going to discuss all the fields which have contributed to the field of OB in detail. So we will be discussing the field of psychology, sociology, social psychology, anthropology and political science, and look at their contribution to the field of OB. So we have seen that the field of psychology studies the process of human behavior, which includes learning, thinking, concepts of memory, sensation, emotion, feeling and personality. Now let's look at some of the psychological concepts which are very much relevant to the field of organizational behavior. So the concepts of perception. Here we will be majorly looking at perceptual errors that a human makes while making decision. Next is theories of personality. Now, some of the famous theories given by psychologists like Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Myers-Briggs personality theory, Big Five personality factors are key contributions to the field of OB. Next is motivation. Now, some of the theories of motivation like theory X and Y, Maslow's need hierarchy theory, Herzberg's theory of motivation, McClelland's theory of motivation are highly used by managers even today to motivate employees. Next is learning. Some of the theories of learning like classical conditioning, operant conditioning, social learning are relevant to the field of OB as well. These are used to induce employees to behave in a certain way. Next is the concept of values and attitudes, and we study how the attitudes of employees can be changed. Next is job satisfaction, and finally we will also be studying theories of leadership and what are the various factors which influence the kind of leadership that has to be practiced on a set of people. Next is the field of sociology. Now, sociology is mainly concerned with the knowledge about a man's social behavior. It studies the way in which people act towards one another. Now, while psychologists were focusing their attention on the individual, sociologists, on the other hand, study social systems in which individuals fill their roles. Some of the concepts in OB that are inspired from the field of sociology are the concept of teamwork, group dynamics, concept of communication, power and policies, organizational theory, and organizational change. Next is the field of social psychology. Now, social psychology is an area that blends psychology with sociology. So basically, this field of study focuses on the influence of people on one another. The unit of analysis here is group. Now, some of the concepts which are influenced from the field of social psychology are behavioral change, concept of attitude change, communication, group processes, and group decision making, to name a few. Now, next is the field of anthropology. Anthropology basically works on culture and environment and helps us to understand the differences in fundamental values, attitudes, and behavior between people in different cultures and within different organizations. Now, some of the concepts in OB which are influenced from the field of anthropology are the concepts of organizational culture, organizational environment, comparative values, cross-cultural analysis, and comparative attitudes, to name a few. Next is the field of political science. Now, political science is the study of behavior of individuals and groups within a political environment. Some of the topics in OB which are highly influenced from the field of political science are conflict and power, and we are going to study majorly on these two topics in OB. It's very important to understand why people behave in a certain way in an organization. Studying the complex nature of human being in an organizational setting is needed to better manage and increase the value of the human capital. So, organizational behavior helps us understand this by studying the cause and effect of human behavior within an organization. Let's look at some of the reasons why organizational behavior is an integral part of management. First point is understanding the relationship between an organization and its employees. Students, the study of organizational behavior helps us in better understanding the relationship between an organization and its employees. It basically helps in the development of better human resource strategies, in creating a better work environment, employee loyalty, and increasing the overall value of the human capital for the organization. Next, motivating employees. Studying organizational behavior helps manager to better understand their employees and motivate them. Different motivational tools can be applied as per individual requirements, resulting in the better performance of the organization. Next point is improving industrial or labor relations. Organizational behavior helps in understanding the cause of a problem, predict its future course, and control its consequences. As a result, managers are able to maintain better relations with their employees by nipping any problem in. Knowledge of organizational behavior helps managers to effectively and efficiently manage their employees, inspire and motivate them to higher efficiency and productivity through a better understanding of human behavior. Next point is it helps in predicting human behavior. This is probably the most important reason for studying organizational behavior. Knowledge of OB prepares students to become better managers and thereby contributing to organizational effectiveness and profitability. So finally, to conclude this discussion, I would say that OB is an exciting field of study which can definitely help managers in effective handling of human resources, which in turn will lead to realization of organizational goals. Now, as we have seen, OB is a continuously evolving in nature. It takes into account all the changes in the external environment. So keeping all these factors in mind, we will see that in near future, the strategic importance of OB is only going to increase. Thank you.